get started straight away. Hopefully, this is still okay. Right, so welcome to the talk today. We're going to talk about pool chemical safety, logging learning lessons from real world incidents. So, just a quick introduction. I'm representing the Chemical Business Association and the Pool Chemical Forum. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I keep doing that. But very quickly, so we're a trade association that represents the entirety of the chemical supply chain. So we work with chemical manufacturers, distributors, logistic providers to ensure that chemicals are transported safely and effectively and also operating sustainably. So I'm also here with my two colleagues from the Pool Chemical Forum. We've got Daniel Azri right at the front and Lisa Robertson on your left-hand side. My name is Danish Azri. I'm the sustainability lead at the Chemical Business Association. So that's my main area of expertise, which is sustainability and sustainability regulation. But I'm also very heavily involved in the chemical transportation and chemical health and safety side with regards to hazardous chemicals in the UK. So I'm also a dangerous goods safety advisor in road, rail, and inland waterways for the UK. So today, besides being part of this association, like I said, I'm a representative of the Pool Chemical Forum, where we try to look and improve the awareness of pool chemical safety and handling in the pool and spa sector. So, a bit about the Pool Chemical Forum. So, back in 2022, there was an incident in the London Aquatic Centre, which had massive impacts not just on the people that were affected in terms of health, but also for the industry. It was a massive wake-up call for us that we needed to do something in collaboration, not just on the operator side, but also from the bulk distributor side. So it's a collaborative project that's been going on since 22, and in 23 we introduced the pool incident register, and I'll explain a little bit more what it is and some learnings and some solutions that we've developed over the years. So like I mentioned before, we'll first look at some chemical incidents in the recreational water industries. And then I'll give an example of how the chemical industry has been reporting this in terms of incidents, not just in the pool sector, but also in general, to ensure improvement and learning is shared all across the industry. And then we'll talk a little bit about the chemical incident register and introduce you guys to a solution that we've developed over the years. And hopefully we have a bit of time for questions as well. So, to preface everything, accidents can and do happen. So these are just some examples of incidents that happen across the number of years that's available on the public domain. And typically, it is due to excess chlorine being used in pools, and the consequence of this is high fumes of chlorine is being recorded and reported, and a lot of the error is due to miscalculations of concentration or human error on the pool site itself or in the pool plant. And like I mentioned, it's overdosing or wrong measurements, which equated to a lot of wrong dosages and chlorine being released. And as we all know, chlorine is a very deadly gas when released, and a lot of it is due to accidental release when mixing with a lot of pool chemicals. And ventilated firefighters are required to evacuate when this happens, but sometimes these incidents can happen without the knowledge of external, and if you are not aware of the incident or have had to deal with it, which I hope a lot of you have not, you need specialist care when trying to abate this. And that's the example of the leisure centre that had to be evacuated after a chlorine gas leak, and one member of staff was taken to the hospital as precautionary care. And that's one of the least damaging examples I could think of at the moment. So, like I said, accidents can and do happen. In the chemical industry itself, chemical handling incidents make up a considerable amount of incidents across the industry. So, one of the initiatives that we've developed back in 1983, and it's been going on for about 40 odd years now, is a responsible care program. And that's to understand all the risks or all the incidents that has happened, and each country has to log and report it on an annual basis. But these incidents don't just include what happens on chemical sites, it also includes what happens on your customer side, your supplier side. So it goes down towards the consumer facing areas as well. And it has shown that in the UK we started it off in 93. We just had our 30th anniversary a couple of years ago, but the program has shown that there's been a considerable decrease in terms of incidents, and hence why we needed a system not just for the chemical industry but for the pool and spa sector to log our incidents and essentially share that learning with the rest of the sector. So, like I mentioned, logging incidents can help industry-wide lessons to be learned instead of trying to learn on a case-by-case basis or reporting it quite secularly. And a lot of incidents can hold a variety of impacts. Like I said, some of the lower ones, maybe the operator might just get sent to hospital, but in some cases, like the one in the London Aquatic Centre, it had quite devastating effects that not just the people who were exposed to the gas, but also the businesses that were involved with it are still facing repercussions and are still awaiting trial for a lot of the issues. So until recently, there was no dedicated place to record chemical incidents in the water leisure centre industry. So that's why we created the project. So back in 23, we released the chemical incident register, and I would like to preface this that the register is not to catch out or not to put any pressure or onerous on any operators or the pool sector. It is specifically to learn and share the learnings that has happened from these incidents. So it comprises of 34 questions, and it goes through facility type, domestic questions, what the dosing system is, but all these data is anonymous and it's controlled and it's only viewed by us at the Chemical Business Association. So within the Pool Chemical Forum, we've all made the decision that it will specifically be us that manage that data across, and annually we'll release a report on the learnings and what has happened over the past year. So there will be a QR code at the end, but essentially, as you can see, we're trying to really understand each aspect of what the site is, how is the site operating, what is the extent of the effect, what chemicals are involved, and also who are the affected parties. And that is specifically to post the incident learnings. So we have a summarized report called the Chemical Incident Report that's been developed by the Pool Chemical Forum. So we have one that's from 2019 to 2024 as a collective, and also the 2025 one has just been finished, and we are due to release it quite soon. So just to talk about some of the results that we've had so far. So in 2025, we had about 7 reportable incidents. There were more incidents than that, but there were 7 that we did get some learnings from. So the insight that we got was that over 50% were in the Northwest, or at least over 50% that were reported were in the Northwest, which fortunately is also the area that we operate in predominantly. We did have one incident that was reported in Dubai, which gives us a bit of hope that it's not just circular in the UK, but we're trying to push this outside of the UK as well to ensure that learnings from all over the world are represented and we can share with the industry as well. So, majority of it is fumes represented as a lot of the outcomes, which is chlorine gas release. The four main areas is human error. So in one instance, the lifeguard was filling up a tank and got distracted, whether that be by trying to save someone else or what it is. We didn't go into too much detail, but the chemical overflowed and it increased the dosage, and ultimately chlorine gas was released. We also had equipment failure, where the chemical or the chlorine injector was actually blocked and has not been serviced. So that's something that we've learned from that incident. The other one that we learned, which was quite prominent, was where the equipment location was, which is the chlorine meter was actually in the plant room instead of being outside. So the operator opened up the door and a fume of chlorine gas just hit them, which is a very unfortunate incident. However, a lot of these incidents are still ongoing. We don't typically expect that it will be the health and safety manager or anything. The people that are putting in these reports could be anyone, whether they are an observer or whether they do actually work there. But over 80% of respondents did not declare any corrective actions. We're not too worried about that, but at the same time, some of these incidents can still be ongoing. So like I said, the London Aquatics incident, it's still ongoing, and it's still something that's being discussed and being talked about even at the government level. So corrective actions are ongoing, but we do expect in the coming years that we will have a bit more information on some of these as well. Detailing them is important and is vital. We do have our meetings quite regularly, and we try to discuss what's the best practice. So, like I mentioned before, I'll probably have another slide with all the members of the Pool Chemical Forum, but we discuss what is the best practice, and we are continuously trying to develop and also trying to share what the best method is or what the best learnings is when we do come across some of these incidents. And in essence, it is to maintain an effective safety management system and avoid any reoccurrence, both internally for the sites, but also externally for people who come on these on the pool to the pool. So where can you find the register? There is a QR code here, but we will also be on the PUTAG website, and also all the members and all the associations within the Pool Chemical Forum will have this incident register on their sites for access as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit, so that's in essence what we have been working on, but there's another side of things. Like I said, I personally don't work in the pool and spa and wellness sector, but us being part of the chemical supply chain and a representative of the supply chain, this is not a secular issue. It's something that we have seen. So larger plants are also affected by it. 1992 to 98, we had a total of 59 pool incidents and 26 water treatment incidents, but these include chemical spills as well. But where we are now in 2019 to 2024, swimming pools and leisure is at 45, which is a slight reduction. A lot of it is to do with a lot more best practice that is being shared. But in water treatment plants and in the chemical supply chain, it's down to only 13 We are bringing in some of the national helpline, the people who are actually getting a lot of these calls into it, and the incidents have reduced massively. In particular, a lot of the incidents is because we transport hypochlorite, and hypochlorite, when mixed with ammonium salts, releases chlorine gas. But back in 2016, we started having these discussions on how do we avoid this as much as possible. From a bulk perspective, this is now industry standard. We rolled it out initially in 2016, but what it is, it's ensure there's no mix-up in terms of pouring of the chemicals from a bulk perspective. And as you can imagine, if you're trying to push it out of a tanker, it can be quite dangerous if a mistake is being made. And now this is HSA endorsed and also an industry standard. So we've seen a massive reduction in terms of incidents. So like I mentioned before, the major gas leak at the London Aquatic Centre in 2022, 200 people evacuated, 50 people treated for breathing difficulties, 12 adults and 7 children hospitalized. And unfortunately, some of the companies that were involved in that were companies that we work with as well. But essentially, it is preventable. That is something that we're very sure of. And industry response has been this: a unique coupling, which is a smaller version that will prevent crossover of hypochlorite. And essentially, it's a bolt-on to your traditional storage mechanism, whatever it may be. And it's something that we've developed and are working as well with the Pool Forum, PUTAG, to make sure that it's being endorsed and becomes industry standard, because this will ultimately reduce the human error factor by a big margin. So, like I mentioned, we are now in the final stages. On the distribution side, we have gotten buy-in. We are in conversations of essentially moving towards this solution for semi-bulk or lower quantities. And yesterday we had a talk about this with PUTAG and also some pool tutors, essentially to say that on the industry side, it will be quite a big cost, but on the operator side, it will be about 10 to 20 pounds per coupling. Ever so often that you change it, then that cost will come to you again. However, most of that cost is being covered by industry, and hopefully this is something that will become standard. And I guess I'll put the question back to you: is this something you think will be beneficial for the industry, or is it something you might consider utilizing for you or your customers or wherever you operate in? Unfortunately, I do not know where you guys are from. Any ideas? It seems it's sensible. Hopefully it's not too big of a cost. And like I said, we're working with PUTAG at the moment to really put this into their guidance, to make sure that it's being endorsed with HSE. We've had a lot of back and forth with HSE in the past couple of years, especially last year. They said they don't want to endorse anything, but with the collaboration with PUTAG, hopefully very soon we will get that into the guidance and endorsement, and hopefully it will be industry standard. And on the chemical distribution side as well, hopefully there won't be any issues in the coming year and should be rolled out fairly soon. So thank you for listening. We do have another minute. Are there any questions?
Just a quick one on the register. Are you planning to link with any kind of local authority? So if there was an incident and we submitted a RIDDOR report, would that, or would we then have to do obviously the RIDDOR report plus obviously your register at the same time?
Yeah, go for it.
So on that basis, the key focus is the anonymity. So we wouldn't want to give people the impression that there is going to be that litigious side, being implicated in those situations. It is all about the learning. So on that basis, it wouldn't have a link to RIDDOR because the two would need to remain separate. So what we want to do is to encourage people to report these incidents, regardless of what level they're at, whether it be manager, observer, lifeguard or whatever. It's about the learning aspect. So people need to have confidence in that anonymity, essentially. So to answer, no, it wouldn't have that link.
I did a run through. It's about a 4-minute complete from start to finish. It's not a big task, if that makes sense.
Nice. And
to what level is the anonymity from the point of what data are you collecting? Do you collect obviously not necessarily about the individual business, but do you collect any information about the operator or anything responsible in any way?
So essentially, there's nothing about the operator itself. What we really want to know, is it a commercial or domestic? So just going through some of these, it's more about the systems more than anything else. Even when you do answer, because it's control, and we made it so that we won't be tracking any data of who's been inputting, just to make sure that we keep it absolutely fair. And even when we put out those learnings, it's more so in a form of a collective learning rather than, it's definitely this one in this region is just. So, for example,
Probably the more detailed information is an area where it's based, what type of facility, and that's probably about the most personal we get in the questioning. It's definitely more involved in what your operation is and what your learnings were, rather than who you are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just to add a little bit extra to that. So, totally what Lisa said there. And the reason for that is so that we obviously wanted to capture the facility type so that we can then attribute to the learnings of how that would implicate those types of facilities. We were very cautious and discussed this quite a lot, that we didn't want to drill down even further to then be able to recognise a particular site that this happened at, because we don't want, when we release a report, that people can then say, oh, okay, it's that one over there. It has to have that anonymity to get the trust and the buy-in. So that's obviously the key focus on that.
I think that's also why us as the CBA control that data rather than the other collaborators.
Yeah, so on that basis, there were a few training organisations on the forum, and we wanted to make sure that none of us had a bias against it. That's where the CBA is the kind of the instigator of this whole process. We wanted them to take that ownership of the data so that there was no bias that was attributed. It was purely held by them, and then they send the report. We then obviously learn from that, and then hopefully disseminate that in pool plant courses, for example.
Yeah. Is that time for us? Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Hope you have a lovely day. Yes. And thank you for listening.